My name's Krista Caldwell. I worked at the Lanark Kitten Mills from 1990 to 95. Probably one of the last students to work there before I went to college.
Fern Donaldson, and I worked in the Glen Air from 1957 till what, 2000? Yes, many years. Ruth and I were the last two to leave.
Well, you closed the doors.
We closed it up.
Yeah.
With many tears.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Ruth Greer. I worked from about 55 to it closed in 00.
2000, yes.
2000.
What things were they doing?
How old were
Well-
you? You were like, what, 15?
Well, when I went in there, I went in as what they called a looper.
Okay.
And I knit this sweater. I looped the stitches on what they called a looper.
Each stitch had to go on a needle.
And each stitch had to go on a needle, and then it went to it went to the sleeve lady,
Yeah.
and she put the sleeve in, and then it come back to me, and I put the last side in.
And it's still, look at the quality.
And this was Arlon.
Uh-huh. Nice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, Arlon.
Such
And that was my job. Oh, I don't know how many years I worked at that. And then they were shutting down. I started sewing pants and jackets and putting pockets in it and sweaters like this that we had.
Yes.
And suit, that is what we knit. That was the material that was knit under, just move my coat.
Uh-huh.
And that suit,
Oh, this, okay. We should
that
show
was,
this.
that stuff was cut, or was knit there, and then, as Ruth says, it was cut at a big table, and put, she still fits me.
Yeah.
Well, that's good too.
And this sweater here was made there also.
Wow.
Oh, there goes the power, no?
Power?
Was that the power?
Yeah. Powers up.
Skirt and the jacket would have been knit on the knitting machines, and that one would have been knit on a flat machine. The sweaters were knit on a different machine. You did, the more you made.
Yes.
That's why we're still all in piecework. Everything I go to do, I'm
She's fine.
brushing.
So it's
Yeah.
affected the whole way you
Yeah, it affects the
Yeah.
whole way you live, because you're watching the clock at for everything. I have to have
Yeah.
this done by such and such. I have to have this done.
And one time I was putting on too many tickets, and Jimmy Perry came along, our boss, upstairs, and he gave my bench a kick, and he said to me, "You slow down or your rates are going to be really slashed." So I started keeping extra tickets, and then if I decided...
Just to stick on when you had a bad day.
Yeah.
If I had, a bad day, or I decided to take a Friday afternoon off, I would put the tickets on, and somebody would punch me out with my punch card.
Oh, time stealing.
5 o'clock. There was tricks to all trades back then.
Oh, yeah.
But the most important part was the fun we had.
Well, tell us about it.
Oh, we had so much fun. I could go on for days about the memories.
Yeah, so
Memories.
could I.
Crazy, innocent, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
It was a
Hey,
real
Krista?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And the gifts we'd give. Now, one gift wasn't the Garney Sergeant that we got the horse dirt and put in.
And this one lady she didn't have a tooth in her head. She was from Holland. A sweetheart. I used to tell her she wouldn't head, wouldn't shoes, wouldn't listen, those people from Holland. But anyway, she didn't have any teeth. So this one year I was shopping somewhere. It was a candy store, and they had chocolate false teeth. So we got this set, and we wrapped it up and gave it to her at the Christmas banquet. So anyway, a couple months later, I said, "Rena, you're not wearing your teeth." She said, "The mice ate them." And you know, that lady's still living. She's
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she knew hard times.
Yeah.
She came
Yeah.
here as
The war bride.
as a war bride, and she was led to believe she was coming to money.
Oh.
When she got here, there was nothing.
No,
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Who were the employees at the mill? Like they were you or what? where did they draw the people from to
Oh, all
work?
over.
All over.
All over the area.
Maybe you should start at how you guys, Dave Merkel came here. Like,
Yes.
so
I think
one
Bruce
was
got
set
that.
up
I think
first.
Bruce
This
got
is on
that
this
all.
How
page
did it
here.
get started?
Yeah.
How did the mill arrive here?
Yeah,
Well, there was three brothers, Dave, Herb, and Vernon.
yeah, yeah.
And
They
it
were
was,
from Toronto, right?
they were in Toronto, and I don't really know. He started at the lower mill and they did blankets.
Which was store one.
Yes.
Store
Yeah,
one.
they did
Yeah.
blankets. That was at the lower mill.
Yeah, yeah.
And they made blankets. And then he bought that building now.
See, that
still
building
is-
used to be a bank. The bank
The
used to be
bank.
in the Glen Air. There's the safe's still there.
Yeah, the safe.
Yeah.
We used it. We used the safe right
Yeah.
to the end.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
built onto it, and that's why it's as big as it is now. It wasn't that big when
Oh
we
no!
started
Oh
there.
no!
No,
Well,
no.
the
How big
store.
was it when you started then? Was it just the stone
Well,
building or was it
yeah.
more?
Yeah, and the
Just-
store was just that little wee front
Yeah,
building.
Oh, the little square one at the side.
No, at the
No,
front,
the front
you know,
window.
the front
The big
window.
windows. Oh,
That was all the store there was. But then
Yeah.
they kept doing away with machinery and making the store bigger and bigger
Yes.
and bigger.
yeah. And we went in that one door there.
How many employees were there then? would you say?
Oh,
At one time there was about 200.
200?
yeah, at least 200.
Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
huge payroll.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was Toronto. It was all over.
Yeah.
There was 2 rows at one time at the front of the little place. You walked in and you punched your card, and then you went up. We went upstairs, and then we turned and went in, and there was 2 rows of loopers,
Yeah.
and they did the shoulders and the sleeves.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
And then they went to what they called the seamer, and she would seam up the sides of these. This was all done on what they called a seamer. And that's why it's the way, like, it's not serged, it's seamed. Okay, and there was the seamers, and then
What's the difference between serging and seaming? Just,
Well,
I don't know that.
this, you see, this here was seamed up on a seamer.
But serging is,
Serger's what that jacket is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
On the inside there, Krista.
Yeah,
See, that's
that's
surgeon.
serge. This is also
Okay.
well, they're called whippers today.
Yeah,
Okay.
but back then they were called sergers.
Okay.
And they kind of make a
Yeah,
blanket stitch thing.
And
Yes.
then one
Whereas a seam is an actual seam.
That's
we had
right.
then in later years, like there was busloads came from all over. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you could hardly get across the street
Yeah.
there on a Saturday, and I'm not exaggerating.
And they'd call from Ballers and Cheese.
Yeah.
Because they'd go there first and they'd say, the
Yeah.
buses are coming. And we
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
be running.
And we had a shoe store that was one of the best in the country. If they
Yeah.
sold naturalizers.
yeah.
yeah,
And then we had a hardware store in the corner that was the man just loved to go because they
Yeah.
had stuff you didn't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
Freddie
in
Orts.
all this, we had this old mechanic,
Yeah,
and he had a little cubby hole where he kept his tools. And the tour went through this one day, and the lady says to this old mechanic, "And what do you do?" He says, "There's one in every hen house." That's the only answer he gave her. Here he is sitting with 100 women.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
There's one in every hen house.
Yeah.
no, that was some of the fun we
And then
had.
another episode, the tour went through, and the one girl was called a blind hammer. Now, a blind hammer meant that you hemmed and the stitches didn't bleed through to the outside. But then, anyway, the girl touring her said, "Now this is her blind hammer," and she's just going like this, and they're looking down trying to see her eyes because they're trying to figure out how anybody blind could run a machine at that speed. Oh, many stories,
Oh, yeah.
many stories.
Yeah, because they gave tours, right? Of the
Yeah,
factory.
all the time.
Tours.
That's interesting
yeah.
too. And so that people could go through and see
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
process.
yeah.
Well, we
Yeah.
had different rooms in store number 1. So we had like 18 to 24.
Yeah,
It's 14, 12, 6,
Yeah.
6 with the part at the back there that's falling in. The white part is, that
Yes.
was the size 6 room in the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah.
Was the dye house behind that?
the dye house was out on the other,
Dye house was
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
out in the back.
like right behind the big
Okay.
size.
Yeah.
So then there was big windows and people could go into the 18 room and they could see Rena on her machine and
Yeah.
and Yeah, so it was kind of neat.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
It was honestly quite a production.
yeah.
Did it operate 6 days a week then? I think.
Sometimes we worked Saturdays. Sometimes we had to work in the
Nights.
evenings. Yeah.
The store
If-
part did, when
Yeah.
I worked there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the store part did. But
Yeah.
when we were in the factory, you worked 5 days a week, 7 to 6.
Long
Yeah,
hours.
6 o'clock, 10
And
hours.
if there was a big order that they needed out, you'd work till 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I remember Rena working when I was working store one so what was store one open? 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So we students would come in and work 5 to 9, or after school,
Yeah.
5 to 9. And then Rena would still be out back making
yeah.
whatever she did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I decided I wasn't going to work overtime. I was going home, and I got up and had my coat halfway on, and Jimmy Perry, our boss, he came to me and he said, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going home." And he said, "No, you're not. Get your little ass on that chair and get busy."
You couldn't say that today.
No.
Oh, you couldn't say that today.
No.
Oh, mercy, no. No.
How were they as employers? Well, obviously you had a lot of fun there too.
Oh.
But they were good employers.
Oh, yeah.
you-
Yes, I couldn't say a word about them. Like, we didn't make big money, but we all did well.
Yeah.
You know, like we
Yeah.
educated our kids and,
Yep,
Yeah.
you know.
This is the thing.
everything.
They provided well for the community.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yes.
And all the business, of course, it would bring.
Oh,
with
yeah.
People coming.
Chocolate factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything,
Yeah.
everything,
So we had
everything
bakeries,
thrived
we had
because of the
bakeries,
Glen
we had a fabric store. We
Yeah,
had,
yeah.
like, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable. The
Yeah, everything. We did
Yeah.
everything.
Glen
And didn't appreciate it
No.
Yeah.
till it was gone.
Yeah.
Like Joey Mitchell said, right? You don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Oh.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So then you guys we were talking. I think the thing was down, but so Dave and Herb and Vernon came to Lanark for some reason.
Yeah.
Yes, why did they pick Lanark? Just
I'm not sure whether it says that, Ruth,
Was it
in there.
About,
But Mr. Markle, their father had died and left the mother with 3 children.
yeah.
And they had an uncle out of Lanark here, Will Forrick. He was a brother of their mother.
yeah.
okay.
And he sort of took them under his wing in a way, you know,
I see.
because they always referred to Uncle Wib, like Uncle
Yes.
Wilf, all the time,
Oh,
all
yep.
the time. So that was the one reason they came. I'm sure that they came to Lanark.
Yeah, but they had some. I'm just not sure about it. But they owned a house up on the hill.
Black.
Yeah, where the
Blackwood
Kings
or-
live now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that was theirs, and they'd come there.
They came there in the summers and
In
went
the
back
summer.
to Toronto in the winter.
Had to. Her father said that. Well, you better be able to provide for her then.
Yeah,
So that was
the bride.
the
They
bride.
always called
He
her
called her the bride. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he was quite the guy, eh? He
Well,
was always laughing.
yeah.
He had his office and store too when I was there.
What was his name again? I'm sorry.
Dave Markle.
Oh, Dave.
And he loved a joke.
Yeah.
If you told him a joke, he told everybody that he saw that day that joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. Well,
He was a very religious man.
And Mrs. Markle, when I went into the sewing room, then she was a sewer, and she would come in, and she'd want some sewing done or whatever, and she'd want to know how to do it. So her and I became real good friends. Well, then she invited me up to the house, and one time she invited Fern, you were to come. And we went up and we were having tea, and Mr. Markle was in his room sitting there watching television. And he starts yelling at Fern to go in. And she says to me, now look at that. There, he's called Fern in there. You know, he's in love with her.
Not in that kind of a way.
And she wasn't one bit hurt, or she just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
That he would think, you know, he thought so much of Fern. Whatever Fern said and did, that was right.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of respect to
Oh.
A, and they
Oh yes.
they
oh,
were
yeah.
part of the community.
There was those people that didn't have it, and they complained all the time about everything. And I said to the one lady this one day, and she's still living in a nursing home, I said, you know what? I've never seen a chain around your chair. What do you mean? I said, well, there's the door. You're free to go to any place you want to get a job. If you don't like it here, you should go.
Yeah.
That was Rena Campbell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was true. Like, we weren't tied there.
Tom would, when they first started, right, tell it about dropping sweaters off to people.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He would take, well, you know the
He
story.
would take the bundles if the women couldn't afford, they had children and they couldn't afford to pay a sitter to go out. He would drop the work off to them at home,
Yeah.
you know, and they could sew it and do it whatever they liked at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manders, we had manders
Yeah.
too,
Oh,
and
yes.
they did mending at home, a
Yeah.
lot of them. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's very good and very flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder if an
Yeah.
employer nowadays would be
Yeah.
that flexible.
Oh, you wouldn't,
No,
you wouldn't
no,
get
no.
that today. You wouldn't,
Oh,
no,
no,
you wouldn't.
no.
So when did they get on store 2? Was it first or store 3? Like after he expanded?
It was
Oh,
for
it was
store
store
2
two
first.
was first.
Then
And
he,
Right
bought,
up the
then,
Youngs?
yeah,
then he bought 3 and then he bought 4.
Yeah.
4.
Like they had all the way up the hill at one time.
So they all
Four
had so they
stores.
all had different identities, sort of, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
So
Store
store
4
1
was always the ends of lines that odds and sods from all the other stores went up
That
there.
didn't sell.
That's
store 1 was okay. So store 1 was the factory and what and it had
And the Glen Air stuff.
all the
Yeah.
Glen Air stuff.
Yeah.
And
Store two was
the
stuff-
man's
and
and
children's
children's
And stuff they
upstairs.
bought in.
yeah, like
rates.
Nygaard
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a sportswear kind of more.
Yeah, yeah,
And store 3 was our.
A
This where
boutique.
you would have found this in store 3.
yeah,
It was the high end,
yeah,
like the designer
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
And then it would
And upstairs.
then it would go to store 1. And
No,
when we
but
got
upstairs in store 3, Krista, was the jewelry.
yes.
Yeah, we had jewelry and yarns.
Yeah, yeah.
We sold
yeah,
jewelry
yeah,
and
yeah.
yarns upstairs. in
We had a
store
little bit of
3.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when this was when we got new models or with designs in, then this would go to store 1.
Oh, I
So they made the round. So this would go to store 1 and we would bring in the new stuff. And then store 4 would get eventually whatever was left, like if this was still left, what, 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
later,
yeah,
it would go up to store 4 and it would be
when it
really
got that you couldn't
discounted.
make an outfit, like
Yeah.
the odds and sods. It would
Yeah.
go to
It did
store.
really well. And then we had discounts, so you could get in the paper, 10% discounts, coupons,
Yeah,
mailing list.
yeah.
What else did we do? Then you could do, if you bought $100 worth of product in the other 3 stores, you got, what, $10
Yeah,
free
Yeah.
Yeah.
up in store 4 of product.
Yeah.
Taken off or whatever. Yeah.
Like in 1962,
Yeah.
it was centennial year. Here, the village was 100.
Right.
And we had a parade, and I was Miss Kitten.
She was. She
If
has
you
her
can imagine.
Very good.
Now I'm an old cat.
That's great.
She's a cougar now.
Now you're Mrs. Kitten.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed every day I was there.
Yeah, I'd go back tomorrow.
So would I. So would I.
Fantastic.
And
Yeah.
we had a lunchroom upstairs too.
Yeah, that's where it really fell in first,
Oh, I
eh?
know.
Yeah.
That was our lunchroom.
Yeah.
Was that
Yeah.
the white sort
So
of
I-
frame? Oh,
No, it was, well,
what
over
was
a bit.
upstairs of the stone?
It was the first that went in, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah, we
say.
went upstairs and that was the lunchroom right
Yeah.
And
there.
of course, there were so many of us that we had to take our lunches and our breaks separately. Like, you know,
Yeah.
your break might be at 9:30 and the next one at 20 to 10.
And they had like a school, like it was like a school bell alarm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break was on and off. You got, you know.
Yeah.
And,
We had
there's-
to punch in too.
and I just saw this week where they've got the big round wash thing to wash your hands and you pressed on
Yeah, I
it.
saw that.
Yeah.
There's one, I wonder if it's still there. There was
Yeah.
one in the Glen Air Kitten.
I bet it's still
I
there.
bet it is too.
There was something still there. We were in it actually.
Well, were you? Was it safe to go in?
Probably not, but we but we went in with an engineer, and it
Oh,
was,
so you didn't go to the washroom or
we
that?
didn't go to the washroom, although we saw a door with ladies on it. It was
Yeah.
obviously the washroom door.
Because
That
that's where
one,
that
yeah.
round thing would have been.
Yeah.
You just pressed on it to wash your hands, so 5 or 10 people could get around it and wash their hands. There was a soap thing on the top.
Perfect for COVID. I mean, this is
Yeah, for sure.
everything
For sure.
old is new again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's new.
And then they had the offices upstairs.
Yeah.
just beyond our, well,
Yeah.
there was a hall, you went upstairs and.
When did they build the block extensions? Was that?
Oh,
front.
Well, I remember we were there when they were Parks built that.
oh yes.
It probably was in the 60s.
Could been.
Doesn't say that, eh?
Yeah.
And what were they putting in there? Was that where the machines went, the knitting machines?
Well, yeah, that back part was all knitting it at
Yeah.
that time.
How many people worked there?
200 at one time.
Yeah.
Just talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
at one time there would have been easily 200 people.
Oh, easily.
And
Yeah.
they came from Carlton Place, they came from McDonald's Corners, Elfin, they came
Flower
from
Station.
Tatlock, you name it. And these were women that had never had 5 cents of their own before.
yeah.
And all of a sudden
They
they had a
carpooled,
job.
too. Grandma
and-
said they
yeah, your
carpooled,
grandma
yeah.
Elsie came.
Yeah.
And they had money, and the guy at the hardware store told me that they maybe wouldn't have had a washing machine. All of a sudden they'd come up to the hardware store, could I put it on time and pay you so much a week? And he said faithfully every Thursday those ladies come in and paid that money.
Yeah.
Because they'd never had that,
No.
you know, it was like being reborn.
Yeah.
And we didn't get paid back then. We didn't get paid by check.
It was
We
cash.
had a little brown envelope,
Yeah.
and it was cash.
Terrific.
Yeah, we
To
got
save it
we
up.
got we got paid cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a huge payroll. Well, it tells you here, actually.
Yep. And there's another page there, and I
2
think
million a year
nobody's going-
payroll.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic
Yeah.
injection in the community, especially $2 million.
Yeah.
Then.
And that's really what happened to our bank too, because when Glen Eyre no longer had a payroll, the sawmills were gone and they no longer had payroll.
No.
There was no need for a bank. You couldn't
No.
get that through people's head. They have to be turning out so much or they can't stay in business.
Yes.
No.
So
You
the
know.
Lanark factory closed in 92. The factory.
Factory, yeah.
Yeah.
And Toronto plant closed in 93.
Yeah.
And then the stores all closed
Yeah.
in 2000.
Yeah.
Once Mr. Markle was gone,
Yeah.
the sons
So
were,
it went from 250 employees in 1987 to 30 today, which I don't know the date on this.
So how could you see that the business was going down, or how was that?
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah.
The,
Well,
the
it's-
buses slowly stopped coming.
And it got to the point where you could buy stuff offshore far cheaper than
Yeah.
what. So
Yeah.
a lady, they don't want stuff today that's going to last.
No.
It's a throwaway society. That's why marriages don't last. No, but
I know what you're saying.
years ago they did. You stayed together, but now
They had no choice.
you had no choice. But now, like, the lady don't care if she has to buy 10 or 12 pair of pants a year. Just throw them away. But back in the day when this stuff was being made, we had carloads come from the States in the summer.
Yeah.
One example was a mother and her 2 daughters, and they were all teachers. And they came to get their suits, and they'd go home and they say, everybody'd say, where do you get your clothes? You know,
Yeah.
mix and match, because you could,
Yeah.
you know.
I saw one on Facebook. It's for sale right now in Almont. It's this material. And it's the periwinkle coat,
Yeah.
and it still has the Glen Eyre tag on it.
Oh,
And
is
they want
that?
$40 for it
Where's
Oh.
that?
in Almont at the thrift store. I was like so tempted to go buy it. You know what I mean?
Well, I've got a whole bunch of the knit dresses
Yeah.
if you ever want a knit dress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to give us a free outfit.
Yeah, we had to wear Glen Eyre clothes in the store.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
Well,
store.
that's interesting. So,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but they gave you the outfit
Yeah.
to wear.
Once a month, was it?
Yeah, you got an outfit a month, yeah.
Every month.
Yeah.
A new outfit. And you could pick whatever you wanted when I was there. You could
Yeah.
pick this if you wanted.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that was one of the ones I got.
You
But-
worked in the store primarily, Christine.
I only worked the store.
Sure,
Yeah.
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 When I first started there, the factory was
But she
running.
did some painting on the outside too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Extra money. We cut his grass and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I worked store 3 with Ruth
Yeah.
primarily,
Her and I
in
worked
store 1.
together.
Store 1. And store
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
We kind of all had our stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You no regrets.
No.
Oh no, we
No.
had fun,
Yeah.
eh? Didn't we?
Yeah, you learned a lot. Because I started there when I was like 14, so
Yeah.
it was my first real job other than babysitting, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it was a
It was fun.
lot. You have lots of memories.
Good memories.
You know, I go to bed some nights and I go through the whole place. And there's so many people gone though now.
Oh yes.
know. And I think, oh my goodness.
Can
I
I,
think it's beyond that.
well, I mean,
But if you could.
If I could, yes, if I could.
You want to load the money into
Yeah,
it.
I I know,
Yes.
I know. But the first thing they've got to do is clean up the village.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hate
bylaw.
to say that, but the village isn't like it used to be.
Well, do you think that if something like the mill was restored, like they used to say, get the graffiti off the walls of the New York subway, that makes people respect everything more, and if that falling down disaster was fixed up, do you think that that would help,
Community.
perk up the whole?
I don't think so, because the type of people that are doing this, they could care less. They're coming here because it's cheap housing. They've no pride, they've no,
So not a lot of Lanarkians still in Lanark?
none. Where I live, I have one neighbor, and the rest of the people, I don't know them.
Uh-huh.
Used
So
to
it's
be, you knew
different.
everyone. You could go to anybody's house at any time,
Yeah.
Yes.
you know.
But I have heard that with stone buildings, they can be restored. Like wooden buildings, there's rot and things that
Yeah.
can happen. But with a stone building,
Yeah, that makes sense.
you can always, the walls are there. Obviously, roofs and interior and all that stuff has to change, but the walls can be saved if they don't fall
But
down.
if someone come in with the money, it would be wonderful to see it. It'll never be a factory like was.
No.
That'll never happen again. There'll never
No.
be another Dave Markle for Lanark.
No, that's right.
You know,
And I have Tom here.
or Tom Keir.
Or Tom
Tom
Keir.
Keir lived in this house.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Tom and Dolly.
Yeah,
His wife Dolly.
yeah, yeah.
And their 3 sons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was the
Tom,
manager.
young Tom. And
Manager of the
Peter and
Glenark.
Rick.
Originally,
Yeah.
he was the original, right?
Yeah, he was the
Yeah.
boss. He was the boss.
he was the boss. And boy, when you seen him coming, you could, yeah.
But you know, I'll tell you a little story about Mr. Keir. And many years after, and he taught us how to work and work properly. There's no tomfoolery. He apologized to me because he had thought he'd been so hard on us.
Oh.
I said,
Yeah.
actually, we all felt you'd done us a favor because we knew how to work.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
Yeah.
expected, and then
Yeah, respect. There's no respect today.
No.
no one feels they owe anybody anything.
No,
employer to
everybody is
employee.
owed something. I only do something if I get paid.
Yes.
You know, there's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but that's the way the world is.
Yeah.
The quality. Everywhere I've talked to someone who has one of these sweaters, they say they're still good after 40
Well, look at
years.
this one. This one's got to be 40 years old and has been washed. I couldn't begin to tell you how many times.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
that
the day
old
I bought
thing
it.
there.
And your sweater, look at that.
Yeah,
This,
and, yeah.
this,
You could
yeah.
probably hang that up and sell it.
And I have a navy skirt that goes with this.
You'd think
this
it was
is-
new.
This is a great old sweater, boy.
So we had a reunion back a couple of years ago down in the museum, and I wore this.
And you had your Miss Kitten.
I had my Miss Kitten banner on too.
Yeah.
So. See, there were a few of us were a little bit crazy.
Yeah, they were. They used to have like broomball teams.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys have, what else do you have? Broomball.
Well, just basically broomball was the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was serious business.
It was serious.
Broomball was serious.
She should have extra shoes so she wouldn't slip in the ice.
Yeah, really. Hairspray. I used to hairspray my boots.
You can't do that now, I guess.
Oh, really, eh?
Apparently they check.
Oh. Did you stick?
And you could drive. I remember I didn't have a driver's license, and Clint, the oldest lad, he said, "I'll go to school if you'll drive me." So I thought I better get a driver's license, and I drove for a whole year without a driver's license.
Oh, I wish I'd have known. I'd have phoned the police.
Yeah.
But those kind of things, like, you never reported, you never told anybody, like.
No, this has got nothing to do with the work, but one day I ended up in the store as assistant manager. And we were going to Ottawa on a buying spree. Mr. Markle and Linda, his daughter, she was driving. They were in the front, and Lillian and I were in the back, his wife. So we're going down, when you're heading into Ottawa, there's 2 great big things of where they keep the sand for the winter. Well, I'm a jokester, eh? So I said, oh, there's Dolly Parton's burial ground. And Mrs. Markle said, what did you say? I said, that's Dolly Parton's burial ground. Oh, she said, you've got to tell Dave. You've got to tell Dave. laughed and laughed about that. Told everybody we were by Dolly Parton's very well.
Yeah, I remember telling that.
So free trade came along under Brian Mulroney, and then very quickly thereafter things just left the country.
Yeah.
And I think that was sort of the beginning, even before, China was starting to come on board, but before that there was the cheap labor in the southern states and the cheap labor in Mexico.
Yeah.
Where,
And that's what happened to us. You couldn't compete.
No.
You could buy 20 dozen stuff in for probably what will cost for us. But another thing that happened, Canadians got too greedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
They wanted quantity over quality.
And they
That's what
wanted big money.
Yeah.
Big money.
So, like he says here, he put in his lifetime, since the business began in 1945, he's paid out 90 million in wages.
Wow.
That's crazy, right?
Wow.
And the ministry, and then the ministry started. There were so many rules. He couldn't keep up with it, and Ministry of Environment, they're demanding 100,000 in equipment to purify water.
Yeah. And I remember him telling me once, because there was steam let off a couple times a day because of the boiler, and they wanted him to put in this thing, $100,000 to catch the steam. It wouldn't have been enough to hurt a flea.
No.
And steam, like
Well, the same thing happened up behind where I lived. There was a sawmill, and a lady moved in from the city, and she complained so much about the sawdust that they shut it down. Wee bit of sawdust was flying in the air.
Well, it was there when she bought her place.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
No.
Sometimes I think the same thing happened with, maybe I don't want to get off on a tangent, but butchery and, slaughterhouses and all that sort of thing. They bring in so many, things used to be done locally,
Yeah.
and then if there was a problem, it only extended to the local area.
people, yeah.
Whereas now they centralize 2 or 3 in the whole of the country. If there's salmonella or something in there, it goes all
Yeah.
across.
The bigger is not better, for sure.
No.
Anyways.
yeah.